we just got through with the Passover and unleavened bread. We just came back from the feast site that we were at, and the children learned the 10 Commandments during that feast. That was what the children's program was about. And they learned that a lot of us have not learned, from a Hebraic point of view, the correct way of understanding the 10 Commandments. Commandment number 1, Hebraically, stops right there. I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, the land of Mitzrayim. That's commandment 1. The you shall have no other gods before me is all part of commandment 2, which has to do with idolatry. It's understanding that he is our Elohim, that he's the one that brought us out of Mitzrayim. That is commandment 1. And so he says it right here. He goes, look, he said, when I took them, when I chose and made an oath to the seed of the house of Yaakov and made myself known to them in the land of Mitzrayim in Egypt, I lifted my hand in oath saying to them, I am Yahweh, your Elohim. See, that's the biggest key, is that he says, I am your Elohim. I am your mighty one. And we always have this problem throughout history of seeking after other ones for our source, for our strength, for our intervention, for blessing, for whatever it is. And he's saying, I am the one. There is nobody else. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. I'm the one who brought you out of Egypt. You shall have no others before me. And so he's saying, look, I did that, yet, he says, yet, and I said to them in verse 7, each one of you throw away the abominations which are before your eyes, and do not defile yourselves with the idols of Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh, your Elohim. You don't need anything else. That's what he's saying. He says, there's no need for anyone or anything else. I can handle. I'm sufficient to everything that you need. I'm more than sufficient. There's nothing that you need that I cannot handle. As a matter of fact, there's nothing you need that the other things can handle. I am really the only one that can handle anything you need. And so why waste your time with all that? And said, but sadly, look at verse 8. But they rebelled against me and would not obey me. Now notice what he said going through here. He says, I made an oath while you were in Egypt to take you out, to bring you to a land made of, flowing with milk and honey. And each of you were told to throw away your abominations which are before your eyes. We're talking about idolatry here. And how does he connect this? He connects it to lack of obedience. See, when we don't obey, in a sense, that's idolatry, because we're really obeying some other leadership. Usually it's self-sovereignty. This is why it's so important that we understand the whole mikveh thing, and we talked about that extensively in the part 1 of the teaching on leaving Egypt, okay? And the idea is that you must renounce all authorities that are over you other than him. You have to give up your self-sovereignty. You have to no longer be under Hasatan's influence, no longer under the world's influence, but completely under his influence. And he says, look, but they rebelled against me and would not obey me. All of them did not throw away the abominations which were before their eyes, nor did they forsake the idols of Mitzrayim. So I resolved to pour out my wrath on them to complete my displeasure against them in the midst of the land of Mitzrayim. But I acted for my name's sake, that it should not be profaned before the eyes of the Gentiles among whom they were, before whose eyes I had made myself known to them, to bring them out of the land of Mitzrayim. So remember, when they came out and they were being rebellious, Yahweh said to Moshe, I'm done. I'm going to just wipe these guys out. Why don't I just start again with you? Now, of course, he really wasn't planning to do it that way. He was testing Moses, because he knew what that would have done to his reputation and to his name. But it took Moses, as part of his test, to say to Yahweh, but Yahweh, what will this do to your name? Because the Gentiles, as he said here, the Gentiles are a witness to all of this. The nations have seen what you've done. And they'll say, oh, he was not strong enough to bring them out and deliver what he promised, so he had to destroy them in the desert. He said, but I acted for my name's sake, that it should not be profaned before the eyes of the Gentiles. See, for his name's sake. He said, so I took them out of the land of Mitzrayim and I brought them into the wilderness. Verse 10. Verse 11, and I gave them my laws and showed them my right rulings, which, if a man does them, he shall live by them. That's the key. If a man does them, he shall live by them. I showed them my laws and my right rulings. Yet we still struggle, even though we came out of the churches and we've no longer are doing those things where they said those stuff was done away with, we still struggle to fully embrace our part in doing them and living by them.